Hey everybody, it's PartyElite, and it's time for yet another Steam Summer Sale, meaning endless options of great games on sale to choose from. As always, I'm here to try and help cut through some of the noise to bring some particularly great picks to your attention, the kind that you won't just buy and let languish in your library, but that you might actually be compelled to boot up and play before the next sale too. Also, as always, I'm focused around strategic and tactical games, encompassing everything from RTS to colony management to factory automation and more, all in that same vein of games that really make you think. And if you have any recommendations of your own, please don't hesitate to drop them in the comments below. With all that said, and with timestamps down below, let's begin. Space Engineers 2 is currently 20% off, available for just about $20, and though the game launched into early access in a very early and frankly bare bones state in January of last year, the devs have since put a lot more content into it, finally making it into something that I feel comfortable recommending at this sale price. There's definitely still a long way to go, but the devs have been very transparent about their roadmap and how progress has been coming along, and recent updates have introduced more structure and gameplay mechanics and systems into the game, including the foundations of a survival mode and systems for contracts and objectives, so there's stuff to do now. The devs have also recently introduced some of the more interesting building blocks into the game, allowing for more mechanization and weaponization of anything you make. There are several more interesting updates planned for the rest of the year, including improvements to everything I just mentioned and the addition of multiplayer, but if you're into sandbox crafting games and sci-fi settings in general and just love building things like planetary bases and spacecraft that you can use to mine and process resources to build more interesting and efficient planetary bases and spacecraft with, there really is nothing quite like this game. You can dig through entire planets, you can build everything piece by piece to your liking, and you can also just wander around and explore the beautiful vistas both on and off planet. It does feel a little odd to recommend a game so early in its development cycle, but a year into early access, I feel a lot better about Space Engineers 2, and I see they're approaching early access like it used to be about a decade ago, coming in a lot more bare bones so that the community can actually give some feedback and have it be looped into a lot more of the core decision-making stages. If you're into that, I can definitely say that the game finally feels like it's reliably headed in the right direction, and it is worth the trust and buy-in, again, especially if you like the first game. WARNO is currently 60% off, coming in at about $16, and you'll certainly have heard me recommend this game before if you follow the channel. A real-time strategy game set in an alternate history where the Cold War has turned hot, the game features a multitude of factions from either side of this hypothetical conflict, allowing you to lead them into battle across single-player skirmishes, multiplayer engagements of up to 10 players on either side, and even campaigns that can be played solo or with friends. The battlefields are absolutely immense as the game tries to really make you feel like you're engaged in battles where a lot of the damage is dealt from beyond visual range, sending in jets and artillery strikes, but you can also zoom in to command individual tanks in and out of position or move infantry from building to building as you take into consideration lines of sight, lines of fire, range disparity between opposing units, and a multitude of other factors that can determine the flow of battle across urban environments and the vast expanses between them alike. The sheer number of stats and attributes and options to take into consideration is through the roof. Whether it's directional armor thickness versus the penetrative capabilities of what's shooting at it, or whether a type of anti-air unit has its radar systems on or off, exposing it to certain threats depending on the current setup, or whether your choppers are flying close to the ground to avoid detection or not. Yes, the game is absolutely micro-intensive, asking you to manage traditional combat roles across domains as well as recon units and even the supply chain as you try to keep your units supplied with ammunition and fully repaired as well, meaning just making sure your units survive battles isn't good enough. Very few games give me the kind of feeling WARNO does, and if you find modern warfare even remotely compelling or are otherwise a fan of truly challenging strategic and tactical gameplay, I can always highly recommend picking WARNO up. Satisfactory is 30% off, just around $30, and if you're into factory automation games, chances are you've already got this on your radar, and if not, well, you absolutely should. After just over 5 years in early access, it released into 1.0 late in 2024, and the devs continue to drop free updates with additional improvements, with the latest just having come through earlier this month. An absolutely gorgeous looking game and an excellent take on the genre that spawned many games trying to capture the same magic, Satisfactory drops you onto a massive resource-rich planet and sets you loose, allowing you to explore the open world, face off against the local alien population, and build the factory of your dreams. progressing from basic tools and mechanisms to intricate systems and buildings connected with the help of pipes and conveyor belts and more. The level of freedom and customization here is truly baffling, with an amazing crafting system and a very intuitive UI to go with it, and the game does an excellent job of motivating you, as the player, to engage with progress. You don't just have a linear series of objectives to hit, but instead you feel this internal drive and motivation to unlock the next thing and the next thing and the next, optimizing your layouts and revisiting old plans as new options open up, rewiring power distribution or reconsidering well laid out plans for anything ranging from better form to better function. Running around your factory in first person and sticking your nose into its nooks and crannies really makes you think about automation in a different way than usual, and whether you're playing alone or with friends, it's very easy to lose countless hours here. Honestly, with how intuitive the game is to play and just how fun and immersive it is, I'd even recommend checking it out if you don't normally dabble in the genre. It's an excellent introduction to it, and while optimization is a core aspect of the game, of course, I found Satisfactory to be a game where it never felt like quite as much of a chore, probably making it one of the more inviting first factory automation games that are out there. I'd recommend grabbing the game at full price without hesitation, so with this big discount, it's a no-brainer. Sultan's game is currently just about $20, and this is certainly one of the most intriguing games I've played in recent years, where it takes the familiar concepts of a deck builder, but implements them through the lens of a dense, narrative RPG full of court intrigue and the endless twists and turns that come with it, all with a layer of dark mysticism and sorcery layered over top. You play as a member of the Sultan's court, and for reasons I won't go over here, you find yourself playing what's known as the Sultan's game, a card game about the unquenchable desire for carnality, extravagance, conquest, and bloodshed. Every week, you draw one of these 4 cards, and then you have 7 days to find a way to fulfill what they represent, drawing a new one week after week after week until you've accomplished them all. Unfortunately, the actions you take in order to do so extend beyond the card game and impact the real world and your real life and relationships. A sprawling city map has many points of interest where you can invest what few allies, resources, and family members you have in order to acquire more of each, as well as to find new points of interest that might hold the answer to your current conundrum. Perhaps you'll overhear some rumors at the local bath that point you in the direction of a group of bandits whose deaths can fulfill the desire of the bloodshed card that you happen to draw that week. Or perhaps the local brothel can help you overcome the need for carnality. And while some of these decisions might sound quite matter-of-fact in the interest of accomplishing your goals, there's countless opportunity for out-of-the-box thinking. Sure, you can bring a carnality card to the brothel, but what happens if you bring it to the Sultan's court instead? The consequences of your actions and the paths they unlock is where things get really interesting. And again, you're playing a narrative with characters and relationships and storylines to take on and manage. Do you take the time to manage your household for what little gold that'll earn you? Will you antagonize another noble or speak up to protect others and bear the brunt of the cruel Sultan's ire yourself? How will you manage your relationship with your wife, for example, when the carnality card comes up over and over and over again? It's really hard to describe the wild experience of playing Sultan's game. It is equal parts strategically challenging and, frankly, emotionally heavy. In fact, I should mention that the game is quite dark and deals with extremely mature themes at times. I know that sounds odd for a channel to mention when it frequently talks about games with endless violence and blood and gore, but I guess that's exactly my point. There are some uncomfortable themes in here, but all used to good effect as part of the dark and very cruel setting. I skipped out on Sultan's game when it first released, only picking it up recently, and I can highly recommend you do the same. Age of Empires 4 is about half off right now, and though the game is just about 5 years old, it still has a great player count, supporting a fantastic multiplayer scene, and if that's not your thing, there are multiple single-player campaigns that can easily eat up 20 to 30 hours as they take you around the world before you take on the AI and skirmishes, or look to some of the DLC that adds even more of everything, including new single-player game modes. A historical RTS that probably needs no introduction due to the legacy of its franchise, Age of Empires 4 really managed to take the success of the franchise and maintain its DNA, keeping it intact, while also innovating in some key ways to, in particular, help the multiple factions within feel more dynamic and asymmetrical. Age of Empires is one of the biggest IPs of the genre, so as you might expect, all of the classic tropes are of course present. base building, resource gathering, unit recruitment, supply management, tech progression, and of course, the need to both think and act quickly. With that said, each of the game's core factions will often turn some of these fundamental features on their head, or otherwise experiment with them in truly meaningful ways. The Mongols, for example, can pack up and move their buildings around freely and don't need any housing to increase their population limits. The Delhi Sultanate can research tech freely, so on and so forth. These create wildly different approaches that, in my opinion, go a little beyond build orders. Visually, the game is a treat as well, and I'm a big fan of the decisions made when it came to picking the factions and the way they were executed, and I'll be frank, the DLC is some good quality stuff too. It really makes me happy to see Age of Empires handled so well, so many years after the last full entry in the franchise, and I can easily recommend picking Age of Empires 4 up. Timberborn is just about $30 after having released into 1.0 just a few months ago, and if you're a fan of colony management games, this has got to be one of the most clever of the genre, asking you to lead a colony of beavers after the apocalypse has wiped out humanity. The game does an excellent job of using the thematic core to influence the game's key mechanics and systems. Water and damming it, as you might imagine, plays a major role, for example, with droughts and flooding having significant impacts on the survivability of your colony, more so than many other colony management games out there. But you're not just playing as regular beavers, of course, and the visuals on screen have probably already given that away. You're leading an advanced society of beavers capable of agriculture, engineering, mass production, and much more besides, utilizing the resources of the world around you to build a resilient society. Terraform the world, build towering beaver metropolises, and leverage automation to make life easier for your furry citizens too. There are 2 different factions of beavers that you can play as, each with some unique buildings and capabilities exclusive to them, resulting in a huge number of buildings and resources to manage across both. Don't let its cute vibes fool you into thinking that this is a simple or childish game in any way. With complex simulations, intricate production chains, and real setbacks that can truly destroy everything you've built if you start taking things too easy, if you're a fan of the genre and you're not already playing Timberborn, now is an excellent time to start. Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader is once more on sale, and with the next CRPG from Owlcat both set in the same universe and right around the corner, now is actually a great chance to pick this one up to see if you like some of the core systems that'll carry over to the next one. Though it's worth noting that many things will also be significantly different, but that's a conversation for some other day. Rogue Trader stands on its own 2 legs as one of my favorite CRPGs regardless. Whether you care about the Warhammer 40k universe or not, this is a sprawling and epic story with fascinating companions, seemingly endless quests and side quests, truly impactful decision-making, and brutal, visceral combat where you feel like an absolute beast while also constantly being under genuine pressure and threat. You play as a titular rogue trader after the events of a catastrophic opening segment. This puts you in charge of a massive trade empire, yes, but it also gives you the right to do things and go places that no regular human is allowed to, exposing you to great opportunities and threats alike. It's not long before you're uncovering a sector-spanning conspiracy alongside the checkered pasts of your compatriots and your former contacts. And while you will engage in the usual isometric exploration blended with turn-based tactical combat, you'll also manage your trade empire to bolster your capabilities and improve relations with vendors who might grant you access to better equipment and services as a result. And you'll independently fly from system to system to take on quests and tasks as you see fit, often coming upon random rumors that may or may not lead to something notable. And also, you'll be fighting in turn-based tactical space battles as well. There are so many interesting layers to this game. I can again highly recommend it. Again, whether you're a fan of the Warhammer 40k IP or not. There's so many interesting ideas here, both mechanically and narratively, and the tabletop system that this game is based off of is one of my favorites. It's been excellently adapted here to create again one of the most compelling CRPGs we've had in recent years, and I definitely, wholeheartedly recommend checking it out. The next few games I'd like to recommend are published by Hooded Horse, so I just want to quickly remind you that outside of this channel, I am affiliated with Hooded Horse. That's not to say they sponsor any of my videos or ask me to cover their games, but I do want to mention it for the sake of transparency. The reason I'm affiliated with them is because I like the games they publish, so it shouldn't be a surprise that their games come up on the channel from time to time, and many of them I covered since before I was even affiliated with them. For more information about all this, check out the video linked in the description down below. But with all that said, moving on. Nebulous Fleet Command is currently half off, available for just $15, and if you've held off on buying it because of its multiplayer focus since launch, now's the time to dive in, as the update from just last month finally introduced the much-awaited single-player campaign. A hard sci-fi space combat game unlike anything else out there, Nebulous Fleet Command is probably the most realistic representation of how military engagements might look and feel in space, and if you're a fan of The Expanse and wish there was a video game that felt like the combat in that, this is it. Ships move with 6 degrees of freedom, and their heading and roll operates independently from their direction, with inertia playing a key role when you need to suddenly change direction or retreat after you've been ambushed by ships hiding, let's say, behind an asteroid's radar shadow, or with the help of radar jamming. Turn systems off and on between ships to make them harder for the enemy to spot and track. Spread your forces out to reduce signal sizes, send out scouts to help artillery ships hit from ridiculous ranges, and scramble to repair damaged components, or otherwise manage facing in ways that protect sensitive components from fire while exposing the more expendable ones when needed. Combat, regardless of game mode, is intense and insanely immersive. In multiplayer, or skirmishes against the AI, you'll be able to design custom fleets by pulling together ships of a multitude of classes, building anything ranging from light recon craft to carriers to missile boats and more, choosing individual components and designing around redundancies and roles alike. Choose between various turret and missile types, figure out which form of electronic warfare is right for the ship at hand, consider countermeasures and synergies between the ships in the fleet, and then even go so far as to customize the individual missiles being carried as well, optimizing their ranges, detection systems, and damage output to your liking, all while keeping point costs in mind. In single player, you'll play through a narrative campaign with pre-designed ships, taking you from node to node, each with interesting set pieces and tactical challenges to overcome, tying together the story of your advanced fleet that's trying to cause a disruption behind enemy lines in an attempt to quash a growing rebellion. While just the first act is officially available to play right now, the tools used to make the campaign are available in-game as well, and they are extremely powerful, allowing anybody to create their own narratives, including cutscenes and scripted events. You'll have heard me recommend this game multiple times in the past, and it's only gotten better with this massive update. I can easily suggest you pick this one up. MENACE, from the folks that made Battle Brothers, is currently 25% off, available for just $30, and it is hands down one of my favorite games of the year, which is probably quite evident if you just take a look at what I've been uploading to the channel ever since it released 4 months ago. I'm either playing the game, or I'm thinking about playing the game, and if you're looking for the next great turn-based tactics game, I can highly recommend picking it up. You lead a small strike group of Republic Marines in a distant star system in desperate need of pacifying, and as you jump from planet to planet taking on missions facing off against aliens, pirates, and militants to improve relations with the various local factions, you eventually come across a bigger threat than you could have ever anticipated. Every enemy type presents a unique set of challenges, escalating over time, and you need to make do with limited resources at first, scavenging loot from the battlefield and bartering with the local black markets to secure better equipment, managing your limited supply to determine what you can and cannot actually take to the battlefield on any given mission. The fighting is absolutely brutal, intensified by the sheer amount of decision-making on your end as you consider not just cover and range and lines of sight, but accuracy and damage drop-off over distance on a per-weapon basis, armor and armor penetration stats, weapon modifiers, unique accessories that provide tactical advantages, weather conditions, and so much more besides. There are so many factors to consider, and none of them feel superfluous. Each is interesting in its own right. At the strategic level, you're also managing relationships with the aforementioned factions to unlock upgrades for the ship that you came in on, looking to secure supporting assets that range from med bays that keep your limited pool of soldiers alive, to recruitment offices that make up for losses, to missiles that you can drop from orbit. Despite a character-focused approach with squad leaders in charge of your infantry squads and vehicles alike, these people can die permanently, and the people that fill out their squads can also die permanently, giving you yet another resource to worry about on the battlefield, as every dead squad member is a hefty toll to pay. The way all these mechanics come together is immensely satisfying, and the devs have been putting out regular updates, big and small, consistently. I can easily recommend picking MENACE up at full price, so when it's on sale like this, it's obviously an even easier recommendation. Heroes of Might and Magic Olden Era is currently 25% off at $30, and if you grew up with Heroes of Might and Magic in your life back around, say, Heroes 2 and 3 especially, I don't need to explain this latest edition too much. You'll feel right at home. If you're not familiar with the series, this is the latest in a genre and generation-defining tactical game, featuring a narrative single-player campaign that you can play the opening act of in early access, as well as a multitude of modes to play against the AI, or in multiplayer against other human players. Regardless of the mode you play, you'll be presented with a choice of 6 extremely varied factions to choose from, each with their own unique traits and abilities, unique rosters of units, and, of course, unique heroes that synergize in different ways with the armies they lead and the overall strategy you might have for any given match, leveling up over time to unlock new skills and become more and more powerful as a match goes on. Start from a single city and explore an expansive map to seek out points of interest that generate resources, provide additional sources of units, or otherwise strengthen your capabilities, simultaneously seeking out powerful artifacts to bolster your heroes and their armies, or look for additional cities to claim as your own as you compete with the other factions on the map. Empire Management has you building structures within your cities to unlock more military and magical options for use on the battlefields, unlocking upgraded unit variants that are more than just slight shifts in stats, instead unlocking entirely new abilities and tactics. Take these warriors onto hex-based battlefields to engage in turn-based tactical combat with the help of magical abilities you've unlocked for your heroes, as well as the unique abilities that the units themselves come with. And combat here is meant to be aggressive. It can really be a breath of fresh air where lines clash within just a couple of turns at most, meaning everything from deployment to initiative order has that much more of an impact. There's a lot of little details to talk about when discussing Heroes of Might and Magic, and what it does so very differently from all other games in the genre. Every one of these decisions, though, is in the interest of creating an experience that really rewards decisive, smart gameplay, and whether you played these games growing up or not, I can highly recommend picking Olden Era up. There it is, folks, 10 sweet Steam summer sale deals that are well worth their price tags. If you found something you liked here, consider leaving a like and letting me know what you picked up in the comments below. And again, don't hesitate to leave your recommendations in the comments too. Feel free to subscribe for more strategic and tactical gaming, and as always, a massive thanks goes out to all of the channel members and patrons who've been supporting the channel on a monthly basis. Y'all keep us alive and running smoothly. And of course, a big old thanks goes out to each and every one of you for watching. Until next time, cheers.